Hello everyone, this is Silver de la Rosa and I welcome you to On Silver Screen, where learning is interesting. We are still on procurement and tendering season, and in this episode, we will talk about the traditional procurement route. Please support this channel by dropping a like, sharing the video to your friends, especially those who are preparing for their APC, and please subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell so that you will be notified once a new video is uploaded. Our objectives for this episode are to know the characteristics of traditional procurement route, to know the role of a quantity surveyor, to understand the variants of traditional procurement route in terms of time or schedule and type of contract, and also to understand the organizational structure of traditional procurement route. Now, traditional procurement route is a method of procurement where a client will hire a design team. The design should normally be completed prior to invitation for competitive tenders and before the main construction contract is let. So in traditional procurement, first the client will form its design team. Then the design team will complete the design. And the tender process will commence, and once the contract is awarded, the construction will commence until its completion. Due to this sequential in nature of traditional procurement route, it will take a longer time to complete the project from the formation of the client's team all the way to the completion of the project. And also because of the sequential in nature, traditional procurement route gives more emphasis to cost and quality. Now, what are the things that you need to understand about traditional procurement route? Let's take a look at this meeting between the client and the quantity surveyor. The client, as a paymaster, may need to know why he need to hire a quantity surveyor in the early part of the project, because it is understood that a design team like architect and engineers are needed at the early stage. But is it needed to hire a QS at this stage? And if so, what will be the role of the quantity surveyor? It is advisable for the quantity surveyor to be on board at the early stage of the project, as the QS will be responsible for cost planning, which includes the monitoring of estimated cost as the design progresses in every stage. Preparation of pre-tender estimate to ensure that the submitted tender price are within reasonable range. Measure the quantity of work to be done in order to satisfy the demands of the design. And preparation of tender documents or contract documents. These are only few of the functions that the quantity surveyor can carry out at the early stage of the project. And also, if you wanted to know more about estimate and cost planning, please visit my previous videos in Season 1 where I discuss about cost planning and cost estimating in details. Another characteristics of traditional procurement route that we need to understand is cost certainty, because it is important for a client to know whether the chosen procurement route can provide a certain level of cost certainty. For traditional procurement, assuming that the design is complete, no changes will be introduced, the site investigations are accurate, and there will be no delaying event that will occur, as these are only few of the risks that should be considered which may affect the construction cost, but in general, traditional procurement route can provide a reasonable degree of cost certainty. This is the reason why traditional procurement is particularly attractive to those clients with a limited borrowing powers or observing a strict limit in their budget. The next characteristic of traditional procurement that we are going to discuss is design liability. The question is, the risk associated to design will remain with the employer as the design was completed before the contract is let. Does it mean that the contractor will not have any design liability? Under traditional procurement, the contractor may have some design liability for part of the works that will be specifically identified. And usually, these works will be subject to a provisional sum, or these works are part of contractor's design portion. Moreover, if the client wishes, the design responsibility can be transferred to the contractor by expressly providing it in the contract. So note, by expressly providing it in the contract. We will talk about the provisions of the contract in our future video about contract practice. Going back to this topic of design liability, if the client will transfer the design responsibility to the contractor by providing it in a contract, it will follow that the client will also pay an extra premium to the contractor for the transfer of this design risk. Now let us discuss about the variants of traditional procurement route in terms of time or schedule. As the client may ask if is there any way to shorten the process because to carry out each phase of work in sequence from design to tendering and construction will take longer time. In terms of work phases, traditional procurement has the following variants. First, sequential, where the design is completed prior to tendering and construction. This gives an advantage of higher design, cost, and duration certainty can be obtained before the commencement of construction works. While the downside of sequential work process is that it will take longer time for the project to be completed. Another variant when it comes to time and schedule is what we call the accelerated traditional procurement route. Unlike the sequential variant that requires the design to be completed prior to tendering and construction, accelerated route will carry out this task in an overlapping manner, thus allowing the construction works to commence before the overall design is completed. This can be achieved by letting an advanced works to commence under a separate contract while the design of the rest of the works are being completed. And once completed, the remaining parts of the works will be tendered and awarded separately. For example, once the design of substructure is completed, it will be awarded to one contractor, and the construction works for substructure will be allowed to commence. After the design of superstructure is completed, it will be tendered and awarded to a successful contractor, and this contractor may not be the one who carried out the substructure works. Another way of doing accelerated route is to let the work in two-stage process, allowing the contractor to be selected before the design is completed. This enables the selected contractor to collaborate with the design team if allowed. Accelerated traditional procurement route will give you the following advantages. First, the time to complete the project will be shorter. Next is that the contractor's expertise may be used in the design team when collaboration is allowed. But the downside of accelerated traditional procurement route is that there may be a substantial risk that will arise due to post-contract changes, which may delay the progress of the works and increase the cost, and the ownership of responsibility and workmanship of different items but interrelated works. Traditional procurement route also have variants when it comes to type of contract, as the client may be concerned on how he is going to pay the contractor. Is it only lump sum, or are there any other choice to choose from when it comes to type of contract? The type of contract under traditional procurement route can be awarded with the following options. First, lump sum contract, which is least risky for the employer. This also provides a reasonable level of design, cost, and duration certainty at the start of the project. But longer time is needed to complete the project as it will require the design to be completed prior to tender. Otherwise, this route may fail due to attempt to hire a contractor for the works before the design is complete. Another type of contract that can be applied to traditional procurement route is remeasurement or measure and value. This is usually applied to works with high level of uncertainty, for example, civil engineering works or substructure works where the data for ground conditions are sketchy. The most effective use of remeasurement or measure and value is when the work has been substantially designed, but final detail has not been completed yet, and the contract sum is only established with certainty on the completion of the construction. Now, what are the other things that you need to know or you need to understand about traditional procurement route and its variants? Let's see. In order for a quantity surveyor to provide a reasoned advice to the client, the QS must be fully aware of the characteristics of each options. Let's take a look at traditional procurement route lump sum type. This option provides the following advantages. It promotes a fair competition as all tendering contractors are bidding on the same basis. High level of performance and quality in design can be achieved as the client has significant control and involvement during the design process. Reasonable price certainty at the contract award can be achieved based upon the market forces. High level of procurement transparency. Lump sum traditional procurement route is a satisfactory strategy in terms of public accountability, as it is transparent and based upon competition. This is a well-known procedure ensuring confidence in those involved throughout the supply chain, and changes are reasonably easy to arrange and value where the design needs to vary due to changes in client demands or technology. You must be careful in recommending traditional procurement route lump sum type due to the following disadvantages. The process may fail if tender documents are produced based on incomplete design in an effort to speed up the sequence of activities. This can result in less cost and time certainty and can lead to expensive disputes. Overall project duration may be longer compared to other strategies due to its sequential nature. No collaboration with the contractor or supplier during the design stage. Collaboration with these entities could sometimes result to best value for money. This may also result in adversarial relationships as the strategy is based upon price competition. This option may end up expensive for the client if full scope of the project is not completely defined and could result in the client paying high-risk premium, and provides no incentive for the designers and contractors for their advice on factors that may benefit the operational cost of the completed facility. Now that we know the characteristics of traditional procurement route lump sum type, let's take a look at the traditional procurement route remeasurement type. The advantages of these options are potential for time savings at the pre-construction stage, with the later aspects of design is still ongoing as the works progresses on site. Competitive prices will be achieved as the work is tendered on standard approximate quantities or schedule of rates, which are used to value the completed works on site. Certain degree of accountability is achieved due to competitiveness in selection process. This is a well-known procedure, particularly in civil engineering projects, and changes are easy to manage. Parallel working is possible as the contractor is selected before the design and project planning process are completed, and this strategy may prevent the client from paying high premium for risk for certain types of projects where there are a lot of unknowns. The disadvantages of these options are: the route offers poor cost certainty. The project cost will only be known when the works are completed. Cost certainty will depend upon the level of accuracy of the approximate quantities used in tendering process or the sufficiency of schedule of rates. There are no collaboration with the contractor or supply chain involvement in the early planning or design stage, when most expensive decisions or those that will likely have an impact on time are being made. There is a potential for adversarial relationship to develop, as with all strategies that are price dependent. Incomplete design may have an impact on established project program, which could result to delay and additional cost. Now that we know the characteristics of different options under traditional procurement route, let us now take a look at the organizational structure under this procurement route. The engineer or architect, other design specialists, and quantity surveyor will be composed of the client's team. They will be directly under the client for a fee contract. Once the design is completed, the client will hire the contractor under lump sum or remeasurement contract, and the subcontractors and other suppliers will be directly under the contractor. The engineer or the design team will have an administrative responsibility to the contractor in behalf of the client. So this is how the organizational structure under traditional procurement route looks like. Next, on silver screen, join me as we discuss on a procurement route that gives more emphasis on time and money. Please support this channel by dropping a like and sharing the video to your friends. And if you haven't done yet, please subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell so that you will be notified once a new video is uploaded. See you next episode.